the way to survive is not to listen to me or other people, just stay with what you know. If people invest in only what they themselves know a lot about, then they will know what to do if things go right, and they will know what to do if things go wrong. If I told you to buy X and it went up, you wouldn't know what to do if it went up. You don't know why you bought it. And if it went down, you'd blame it on me. Yeah, you wouldn't know what to do then. You'd blame it on Jim Rogers, but you wouldn't know what to do. So please, if you want to be successful, stay with what you know. And if you don't know anything, do nothing. Put your money in the bank and wait. There will be times. Well, David, I always would just look for cheap things to invest in. I didn't care about where they were or what they were. It never occurred to me. I thought everybody did that. I would find markets that were cheap and I would invest in them. Some of them were considered strange. I can remember when Germany was considered strange to American investors. But I was just looking for cheap places, cheap things, and I would invest in them. Then people heard about it. They said, oh my gosh, you must be crazy. But they kept working. And so people said, oh, he's Indiana Jones. He goes to places where other people don't go and looks for adventure. Yes, I did look for adventure in my own life as well, but also in my investing life. But it wasn't looking to have a name. It was just looking for something cheap. Well, I can still pay my bills, and that's a holy grail. Yes, I did want to retire young. I wanted to have more than one life, and so I did achieve that. And I certainly didn't. I stopped working at an early age, stopped actively working because I wanted to seek adventure. I wanted to see the world. And so I did that. That for me was a holy grail. Some people think that's crazy. Some people think I should still be sitting in front of a computer on Wall Street. Well, it's interesting, David. There was a study done recently, and that the number one ambition for people, the number one dream, not everybody, but is to get in your car and drive around the world, or your motorcycle or whatever. It was my dream too. I've done it twice, as you know. I did it once on a motorcycle and once in a car because I wanted to see the world and I wanted to have adventure. Has the world changed? Enormously. Even between my two trips, the world changed enormously. My first trip, you couldn't use credit cards. On the first trip going around, everything was very, very complicated. And there was the Berlin Wall, there was communism, there was Red China, there was Soviet Union. All that's gone now. Everything has changed dramatically. Yes. Whether we like it or not, the 21st century is going to be the century of Asia and the century of China. 40 years ago, there was no China. Now it's the second largest economy in the world, et cetera, et cetera. There are gigantic changes and prosperity taking place in Asia. And I can look out the window and see it. Anybody who doesn't know about it can just look out the window or come to Asia. You'll see. It's astonishing, the changes that have been taking place. But the same thing happened in England in the early 19th century. Astonishing changes took. Look at America. America was absurd 150 years ago. People thought it was a joke. They quickly learned that America was an astonishing success. Well, a lot of the money is flocking to Asia, as you probably know. China's got the largest foreign currency reserves in the world. Japan is number 2. Korea has huge numbers. Many Asian countries have staggering amounts of assets that they have built up. So people's money is coming to Asia, but also some immigration, nothing like it was in America in the 19th century or even the 20th century. But no, people are. I live in Singapore now, and I see more and more foreigners all the time. Somebody's coming, not just with their money, but with their bodies as well. Well, I think it'll be sooner than 60. I think it'll be sooner than that. But it doesn't matter what I think. Goldman Sachs is smarter than I am. We all know that. And so we have to listen to Goldman Sachs. It is certainly happening. It has certainly happened, as I said, in the last 40 years. There are astonishing changes that have taken place and continue to take place. And, the United States is the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. I don't like that, but it's a fact. I have to deal with that. 40 years ago, America was still a creditor nation. So changes are taking place, and the world, if you want to be successful, you have to recognize changes and adapt to those changes. Do I like the fact that America is the largest debtor nation in the history of the world? No, I have two teenage children. But those are facts, and we have to deal with them. Well, no, America developed a huge amount of power the last 100 years. It's been longer than 70 years, no question about that. And America continues to have a lot of power. But history shows that when countries get overextended, either economically, militarily, politically, whatever, they usually peak and go into decline. I'm not talking in my opinion. This is a simple historic fact.
Mm-hmm.
100 years ago, Britain was the richest, most powerful country in the world. There was no number two. 50 years later, it was bankrupt, literally bankrupt. The IMF had to bail out what had been the richest, most powerful country in the world. Go back in history. It has always been changing, and it always will.
Yeah.
When countries get overextended, they usually wind up in decline. And many others too. Spain, France, lots of places. Yes, you're right. Well, what should we do? We should cut spending with an axe. No, with a chainsaw. We have this gigantic debt, and it gets higher every day. We should cut spending. We should start reducing our debt. Are we going to do it? Of course not, David. Come on. If you ran on a policy in Washington, maybe you would get elected. But after a short time, people would say, wait a minute, this is very painful. We don't want to do this anymore. Nobody likes pain, even if they know what's good for you. So no, is America going to do it? No. I mean, I wish we would, but I know simple facts. Well, America is certainly, if you said to most people in America, where do you want to go? They would say America. Where do you want to invest? They would say America. But that's because most people still don't know the facts, just as many people did not know the facts about the UK or about other countries that peaked and went into decline. Yes, no, America's great. We've got great PR, great movies, great TV, great lots of things. But that does not mean that beneath the surface there are not serious problems developing. David, I said I have teenage children. I don't like it. It's a good time to be an old American. It is not a good time to be a young American, in my point of view. Well, what happened was we had the longest bull market in American history. Starting in 2009, things were great in the U.S. That's the longest in American history anyway. It doesn't mean it can't last 40 years, but it never has. Countries always when things are good for a while, people get overextended, they get overconfident. They think it's new investors come in. New investors call their friends and tell them, oh, I've discovered this new thing called the stock market. It's so much fun, and you can make money, and it's easy. It's easy to make money, and that's always happens at the end of bull. It always has happened. It's happening again. Things get overextended, things get expensive, and we always have a bear market. This is not the first time this has happened, David. This has happened.